All right, we're on a very special edition of the V Spot. I have with me a guest that has a YouTube channel, The Real Jim. He covers uh, mostly Simpsons and also Pixar movies and reviews. He's a very thoughtful reviewer, and anybody that knows me knows I hate most people who review Simpsons. How are you doing? Is your name Jim?
Yeah, you can call me Jim or James, either way. Hello.
Uh, my friend told me about your channel.
Oh,
Uh,
really?
yeah, a couple of months ago, and he had mentioned that you had covered an episode of The Simpsons where Homer framed Marge for having a DUI.
Oh, yeah, Codependence Day, yeah. That's kind of an
Yeah,
infamous episode for my channel.
yeah, I remember when I saw it. I'm like, I was watching it, and I was like, this is messed up. And this way, and I know this season, did you see the episode where Marge got mad that Homer had watched a TV show without her?
No, I think I missed that one. I think I missed over half of this season. What I usually often do is I end up just catching up on the current season, like, all in, like, a binge.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it because, like I said, like I was telling you on Twitter, I kind of watch in batches.
Mm-hmm.
Is that way? Because I honestly, I genuinely do like a lot of the episodes that come out, but occasionally you will get a stinker, and I get so defensive of the show, even when I know an episode is bad,
Mm-hmm.
it makes me overly defensive. Is there anything you're like defensive about? Like it's like you're irrationally defensive.
I wouldn't say I'm overly defensive. I think with Simpsons fans, we often get a reputation for being overly critical, you know? Like maybe that's why you feel defensive sometimes because there are a lot of, comic book
Yeah,
guys, Simpsons fans out there, you know? But honestly, like, whenever I see an episode that I find pretty mediocre that's going on these days, I'm kind of just, I don't want to use the word numb because that sounds like really depressing, you know? But like I'm just kind of like, okay, this was not a great episode. Like it happens. Like I'm so used to like the kind of era of the show that we're in right now, where it's like they're gonna have good episodes. Like I'm not one of those who says like every episode is gonna be mediocre or bad. Like there's
right.
still good episodes in there, but it's a show now where sometimes you have to wade through a few uninspired episodes and just sit through them. So, like I guess I don't really mind either way at this point.
Yeah, I think one thing is at this point, and it really, I mean, it bothers me because I remember when King of the Hill ended, I said if Simpsons whenever Simpsons ends, just give me the mice and men ending.
Yeah, probably. Although
Uh,
who's the Lenny in this situation? Homer?
oh, I'd be the Lenny.
Oh, okay. Oh no, for you? No, don't do that.
No, I was be like, just come up from behind my head.
Oh no.
I think unfortunately the show is beginning. It's kind of showing its age, and when you start to realize your parents are getting old,
Oh yeah.
and they can't quite do what they did, but they're still good for things.
Yeah. I mean, I don't say like the Simpsons are like Grandpa Simpson or something where we like humor the show or whatever.
No, because there's a lot of good episodes. I mean, these episodes this season I've enjoyed mostly. I could think of maybe one or two I didn't care for,
Yeah.
and it's rare I get an episode I outright hate. Like the Elon Musk episode, I hate that episode.
Yeah, you know what's funny? I still haven't seen that episode. Like, I'm pretty spotty on like season 25 and later. Like, I kind of dip in and dip out. But I have not heard anybody say anything good about that episode. It's kind of like infamous from what I've heard. That like everybody's like the
Yeah,
Elon Musk episode sucks. I've never heard anybody say anything good about it.
yeah, there's nothing good about it. I think like if you're watching something like The Principal and the Pauper and you go in cold,
Hmm.
there's some funny jokes on it. Like when I first saw it when I was younger, I didn't even realize it was anything. I guess for me, Simpsons has a weird, flexible reality, and
Yeah.
I always think of it resetting. So it made me laugh. But this episode, there was nothing good to it.
Oh, really? Like, what was so specifically bad about it? Was it just not funny?
Okay, well, yeah, a lot of it was okay. The thing of it is, Elon Musk, from what I've seen and everything I've heard, he's not a very good person.
Yeah, I mean, he has a kind of a reputation. Let's just say that at this point.
Right. And the jokes were not funny to overcome my dislike for him.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, you're gonna run into that like when you have a guest star who is a bit dodgy. Yeah, they're gonna have to be like just kill it at every moment, or basically make fun of themselves to be
And I
interesting.
don't think they're capable of producing the kind of laughs to overcome my dislike for Elon Musk.
Yeah, I can see that.
What made you decide to start a YouTube channel for Simpsons reviews?
It was just kind of a general hobby. Like I'd done a few videos. I was like organized with like a video game site for a while, so I did a little bit of video game stuff. But then like one of the things was I was a member of the No Homers Club. I'm still kind of a member, but haven't really been around lately. But like I would post on there, message boards and stuff, and like I was semi-prominent on that forum at the time, and like it was just like kind of came as a hobby, because I would be around all these Simpsons fans who would write these really long essays and stuff, and like I'd kind of just got entrenched in like reviews and like these are the good seasons, these are the bad seasons, whatever. Like it was very like highbrow. Like you wouldn't believe the essays people would write back then about the show, and I could, like it was the kind of situation where like I would get home from work or like school or whatever. I can't remember what stage of life I was in when I started, but I would have a little bit of time like afterwards, like maybe an hour or so, where it's like, I could play video games, I could watch TV, but I was kind of looking for a hobby. So I was always been interested in like reviews. Like I've written a decent amount on the internet already, and I've been interested in YouTube. Like you'd see people like the Nostalgia Critic or the AVGN at the time were really big.
Yeah.
So some of it was just like I know how to write, like let's just take a shot at it. So I just started writing these little 60-second Simpsons reviews, because like I said, I was on that message board. So I'd kind of posted them and be like, what do you guys think of this? And people were like responsive. They were actually, the forum was really, really helpful and important in getting the channel going, because when you start out YouTube, like nobody's going to see your material. So you really need a sounding board of some people who are kind of interested. I'm not saying like everybody flocked to the videos or anything, but
Right.
just
You
having
had a
like,
base audience.
yeah, just like 5 to 10 people being like, oh, I liked this one, I like this one, you could do this better. Just having a little bit of feedback so it doesn't feel like you're just throwing the video into the void. So
Yeah,
having
that's
that,
kind of what happened to me with some of my interviews, because I've interviewed like some fairly, you would think I would, like I interviewed Jim Starlin, the creator of Thanos, and I would have thought that would get more views,
yeah.
but it's just kind of out there. I'm sorry for interrupting you.
Oh no, don't worry. Like, yeah, like when you first start out YouTube, it's just really, really discouraging because like there's just like there's no user base. So I kind of started doing these 60-second reviews because it's really like, I'm not saying to say they were easy to pump out, but they're just like little chunks of material that I could do and like start small and like get comfortable with the format or whatever. And then I started doing longer videos when people would just repeatedly tell me like, why are these only 60-second long? Why are these 60-second long? The other thing was I looked around YouTube and there weren't really many people reviewing Simpsons episodes or anything. Like I would be on my message board and people would write these really long essays that I'd find interesting. But when I looked around YouTube, I was like,
Yeah.
why isn't anyone covering the show?
Yeah, that's the thing about it. I personally never saw it. And when I saw it, like, I remember I clicked on your first video very hesitantly.
Yeah.
And you, like, gave it like, I haven't seen you do a review where even if I disagreed with you, I never go, oh, well, he's full of it.
Yeah.
Like you always seem you come at your conclusions honestly.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that like I try to do, like I don't know, like I talked to you a little bit like on Twitter about like everybody who's written an episode of The Simpsons is fundamentally a professional writer. So I like the angry video game nerd, for example, like his whole shtick, his character thing is, but that's not really my personality where I kind of feel like I'm lying if I like kind of just put on this episode is bad all the way through. I'm a character, like listen to how negative I am. Like,
yeah,
he has that shtick down, but that's not really me. And like because they're professional writers, it's very, very rare where you get something that a professional writer has done that's bad all the way through. So I feel like you have to kind of give it, like even if you think the episode's bad in general, like Codependence Day, for example, like like if they're doing something good in the episode that is working, I think you still have to acknowledge it. Like it doesn't mean you're suddenly playing the middle and not making an overall point, saying like, oh, there are good things and bad things. It's a mixed
Yeah,
bag. You can still say you can
like
still say the
picture.
episode's bad in the end, but like I think it's fair to like give the ups and downs overall.
Yeah, I think it's very rare to see something, because I kind of get pegged with being negative sometimes, and last Saturday I kind of thought of something where I said, iceberg dead ahead. Can you stop ruining the cruise for everybody?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like somehow, but I'm not. It's hard to find anything that's bad all the way through if you're giving it a fair chance.
Yeah, and like I said, the real danger that I personally struggle with a little is like I don't want to be so even-handed that I don't actually say anything in the end. Like you don't want to be that middle of the road person who doesn't actually make a point. So that's kind of the thing I struggle with, where I want to like give them their dues when they do something, but I still feel that every review should have a thesis on like
Right.
what is the final, like not just good bad, but like what is it strong at, or what is it particularly lacking at, or what could they have done to fix it. For example, like for Codependence Day, I landed on that the third act is just a complete trash fire and is just unredeemable in every way. Like my biggest thing was, this is a fundamentally flawed episode from the get-go, but the way it's structured, you don't have enough time to resolve the Homer Marge stuff in a way that's not flippant or very casual. So I think the important thing with those reviews is to actually have a thesis point in the end. I don't know. I feel like I'm saying something very simple and very like duh,
No,
where you're
I get
smacking your
what you're saying.
head. Yeah.
No, I get what you're saying. You don't want to be like some middle of the road where you didn't really like it was no help.
Yeah, and
Deciding if
I'm
you're
really
gonna watch
conscious
it.
of people criticizing that. Oh, that's that guy who just says everything's fine and that's it.
I find myself with the infamous episodes, and me and my friend, we watch Simpsons together a lot, and we somehow keep running into Simpson Safari.
Yeah,
And the
I hate
weird
that
thing about
episode.
that episode is I like it a little more each time I watch it, and I don't know if that's Stockholm syndrome.
I mean, like, maybe it just grows on you. Like, whenever I watch it, I just get bummed out and I don't enjoy it. But,
Yeah.
like, there are some episodes that can be slow burn for people.
Yeah, it's very odd. Now, I agree with you with Kill the Gator and Run. I'd like the first part where Homer's the quizmaster,
Yeah,
and then he realizes he thinks he's going to be dead soon.
yeah.
But the parts when they get to Florida, I like the old lady that says, I like that.
Yeah, she's the best. That's kind of a meme on my channel. People say that to me still.
Yeah, it's like, I like that. Hey, he's still in my trailer.
Yeah, yeah, she's great. She's the best thing in that episode, I think.
Now, I've noticed, are you still going are you going to go season by season in your big reviews?
Yeah, the retrospectives. Yeah, I'm actually currently working on season 3. My homework this weekend was watch a bunch of season 3 episodes.
What point are you at?
Season 3. Oh, you
No,
mean?
I mean,
Oh, sorry, that was really dumb. Like, I was like, what kind of question is that? I just finished watching. I'm pretty early. I just watched, I think, like Father Like Clown. So I'm like 6 episodes in.
Okay, yeah, I like a lot of season 2 and 3 because those, especially season 2, it's this weird metamorphosis season
Yeah.
where it's not whatever the show was in season 1 in the Tracy Ullman shorts, but it's not what it was in 4 and 5.
Yeah. I mean, this was the first season that Al Jean and Mike Reese ran. So I'm starting to see the differences between 2 and 4 right here. Like, the obvious answer is to say it's a blend between season 2 and season 4, but like, what does that actually mean? And the kind of thing I've been noticing is that these stories are very, very small. They're very like family focused and small still. Like even season 2 have slightly bigger episodes in terms of the town sometimes. But I have noticed that it is getting much more aggressive with the parodies and the references, and they just watch TV constantly with parodies and stuff. So we're getting some of that season 4 big parody stuff, but the stories seem to be staying pretty small so far. Not to spoil the video, I feel like I'm probably going to say
No, that's fine. No, that's fine.
Yeah.
Because I've watched a lot of this stuff hundreds of times, but I understand what you're saying. I talked to Bill. Here's the funny thing: I talked to Bill Oakley once, and he said when he came on the show in season 6, he thought it had become too wacky
Yeah,
and crazy. That he was trying to pull back on that.
Yeah, because David Merkin was really into those big town, like he was really into like Homer going to space and things like that.
Yeah, I like with the show. One thing I discovered is because there's some things like I never liked the Simpsons movie that much, and I figured out it's because it's not. They're separated from Springfield too long.
Yeah, I agree with that criticism.
You know, it's away from Springfield, and when it's not there, it's such a character because I feel like the setting of Springfield can carry the show, can carry some bad episodes.
Yeah, I agree with that, especially like they have such a rich secondary character group. It's like, you know, you did a whole movie and like Mr. Burns barely is in the movie. Like, it's pretty weird. I'm not saying Mr. Burns is a special character, but he kind of is. So
Right.
like them going off to Alaska for like a whole act and a half of the movie. Like one of the things I always tossed around was maybe they should have like left one of the characters there, like Lisa, for example, and like
Yeah.
maybe not split the action too much, but just to make it feel a little more cohesive. Because that Alaska part, like it has a good function, it's really important to the plot, but it doesn't quite work for me.
Yeah, one thing with the movie and when Homer didn't want to go back to Springfield, I felt like he was completely right. The town tried to murder their baby.
Yeah, I mean
That's why they go back.
Homer is an asshole though in the movie though.
Oh no, he is. Yeah, he's like jerk ass on gamma rays.
Yeah, you could argue. I think I made this point in my review, but you could argue the movie is essentially about the concept of jerk ass Homer.
Yeah, taken to its logical end.
Yeah.
And I was glad the show acknowledged my one problem with the dome. I was like, why can't they dig under it?
Oh yeah,
And,
what was the reason for that?
they just later in another episode, Mr. Burns threatened to do it, and they said, besides, we can dig our way out. Though we didn't think of that last time.
Oh yeah, I remember it. Yeah, in that later episode, I was like, I couldn't figure out where in the movie. Yeah, in that later episode, they did reference. I bet a lot of fans were asking the producers questions.
Yeah, because I was asking that during the movie, and I try not to be that person, you know, especially with comedy.
Yeah.
But it was just such a, and I mean, the fact the family got out basically by digging under.
Yeah, I wonder how they could fix that in the movie, where because like you don't really want to acknowledge that, like, because if somebody makes a joke about digging, then like it kind of puts in the audience's head of why don't you do that? So maybe their whole idea was just ignore this plot hole and hope nobody thinks of it, but surely people would think of it. So I don't know how you fix that, to be honest. Like you'd have to like maybe make some kind of technological reason why they can't dig or something.
I mean, maybe you'd have it where some government goons. See, that's the thing about it. It would become a different kind of movie if you try to fix it where the government's killing them.
Yeah, like I guess you could argue maybe the government's watching the perimeter of the dome, and you know the dome had just come down when the Simpsons escaped, and that's why, because they did have to get through like kind of a perimeter to get out toward Alaska and stuff. So I don't know. I guess you could argue that maybe it's not as big of a plot hole, perhaps.
What character history are you working on another character history at the moment?
No, not right now. Actually, when we had talked before, I was in the middle of screen capping stuff for Auto, to be honest, which was very nice of you to delay for me because, like, I was like, I need to get these screen caps going so I can start writing this week, and so by delaying, I was able to get the writing going and then the animation. So I don't have anybody in the works now. Usually, after I finish like a Simpsons history, I usually wait for all the nominations, and then I do like a couple other projects. Then I come back to the nominations and look at them. So I usually only do like one video at a time, to be honest.
I really, you know, I like the picture of Otto because, and again, I don't know if the show means to or not, but Otto kind of has a character arc when you take all the evidence, like the thing from that episode, the Evita episode, where you find out he was class president.
Yeah.
And then eventually, you know, something gets him on drugs.
Yeah.
And it's obviously something to do with his father being an admiral. And I like the ideal. I told somebody, I believe that there's two kinds of stories when you're reading or when you're watching TV. It's the first story the writer's choosing to tell you, and then there's the story between the lines.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable, sure.
Yeah, so that's what I liked about it. I thought you got that across well.
Yeah, with Auto, what I really walked away from was like it. what struck me after watching all of his appearances in a row was it seemed like the writers were comfortable like dumping on him sometimes, like kicking him out of the pin pals and things like that. But I noticed that that only tended to happen in the like kind of golden era of the show, where like seasons 3 through 7 in particular were like the era where the writers really got tired of Otto. And then after that point, like Mike Scully was actually pretty nice to Otto in seasons 10 through 12. And then even the modern episodes, they're not too bad to him. But like in those classic days, they really didn't mind like kicking this guy a bit. And somebody pointed out in the comments, I really like this comment that they pointed out, because Otto is so easygoing and go with the flow and has kind of a good like aloof attitude about it. Like maybe that's the reason why they kick him sometimes, because he kind of takes the abuse better than a lot of the characters. Where it's not really, it's not sad when Otto gets smacked around, I guess.
Right. It's like if you did it to Mo,
yeah,
you feel bad for Mo because Mo is well aware of how bad he has it.
Yeah, whereas Otto, you feel like he's going to bounce back.
Yeah, like he doesn't even like he thought it was a victory to find mustard.
Yeah, he sees like the upside. Like his parents, when he goes for the wedding, his parents will say, "We're leaving," and he'll just like wave to them, like, "Well, thanks for coming." Like he kind of sees the bright side of those situations.
Yeah, and when that's one of my favorite sequences. When no, I mean not one of my favorites, but I really enjoyed it in that episode when Becky tells Otto, she says, "It's me or heavy metal," and then you just cut to him driving away with the band playing.
Yeah, like like I said, I really don't care for that episode as a whole, but this is once again like the Otto stuff actually works pretty well. Like it's pretty silly, but it's very true to his character. I really enjoyed rewatching that stuff for him.
Yeah, that was what season was that?
I think it's season 11. I'm pretty sure it's 11. It could be season 12. I think it's 11 though.
Okay, when did you decide to start reviewing Pixar movies?
The Pixar reviews were just because I kind of wanted to change the pace from like, only doing Simpsons all the time can get a little dry. Like, obviously I like The Simpsons. I'm not knocking it, but sometimes I want to do something else. And I just wanted to see like, I'm used to reviewing TV shows. So I was like, let's try reviewing some movies. Like, let's see if I'm any good at this. So it was kind of just like, almost like a thought exercise of, can I review a movie? Like would that go okay? Would people even be interested in this? So it's kind of like almost like practice for writing. I don't know. And then I ended up writing 17 of them, so it was a lot of practice.
I was thinking about trying to do because one show I can't find reviews for, and it's a pretty important show in TV history, is Married with Children.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed the show, and I really believe that if there wasn't Married with Children, we wouldn't have got The Simpsons.
I think that's reasonable. Did they come on at the same? Did The Simpsons come on before Married with Children, or were they like the same time?
No, they actually started the same night. The Tracy Ullman show started the same night as Married with Children.
Okay, so Tracy Ullman was on. Okay.
Yeah, but when The Simpsons got greenlit and a lot of the crazier stuff was allowed to go, because I remember when I was a kid, it was a very controversial show.
Oh, Married with Children? Yeah, definitely.
Oh, no, I meant The Simpsons.
Oh, yeah, The Simpsons for sure, yeah.
Yeah, no, Married with Children was too. It would be even more controversial today in a more sensitive atmosphere. It's interesting, though. You see some things and it could have only took place in one era.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like if you're doing a show like Married with Children, they would write the show to the culture of the time necessarily. Like,
right.
Today is different than the late 80s, early 90s, I suppose. So, like, things just change after a while. It's very natural where you become more conscious of this or that after a while.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying there. Now, do you watch other animated shows? I kept wondering if you watched Family Guy.
I've never been a big Family Guy watcher, to be honest. Like, I don't have anything against it. Some Simpsons fans are, like, really big haters of Family Guy. And, like, I've watched episodes of it. Like, I think it's funny. It's not really my thing because they're just, like, joke, 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 joke. Like, there's like a cynicism and a
meanness,
like a nihilism to it, where it kind of feels a little soulless for me. So I need a little bit of that schmaltz in there, personally. So like it's very funny. There have been a lot of like very memorable moments that are just stuck in my head forever from Family Guy. But like if we're talking animated shows, I'm more of a Bob's Burgers fan, for example.
Yeah, I like Bob's Burgers a lot. I didn't watch it initially because I told, and again, my friend Neil, he's my creative partner because I write books and publish on Amazon, and he draws the covers. So we do a lot of stuff together. But we weren't watching Bob's Burgers because we said it was going to get American Dad killed.
Oh, you think so? Oh, well, did it hurt American Dad? How long did it run?
American Dad went a few more years on Fox, but then it went to TBS. But
Okay.
kind of what I said happened.
Yeah.
But at that point, and then we got more protective of Bob's Burgers watching other shows because it feels like Fox is always trying to shoot themselves in the foot.
Yeah, well, Fox has always had trouble finding that like 7 o'clock show or the stuff that comes on before The Simpsons. Like they just run through everything just constantly. And, like Bob's, it's a terrible time slot too because Bob's Burger is constantly getting like moved because of baseball or delayed or something like that. So I'm honestly surprised that it's been as successful as it was because I thought it was going to get like 2 seasons and that's it. So like it's been a really nice success story. They're doing a movie for goodness sake.
They are.
Yeah, I think it's going to come out next year. I think, or maybe it's. Theatrical? What's that?
Will it be theatrical?
Yeah, I think so.
Now, is this going to be the one where Bob fights Broly?
Your guess is as good as mine.
Yeah, that was the Dragon Ball movie came out earlier this year. And I always think of that when I think of an animated movie or something. I always it's weird how you kind of put. I always end up putting put fantasy characters in the mundane and the fantastic.
That seems to be pretty hot these days.
Now, what do you think? What do you consider the best season overall?
The best season?
Just gut level.
I would say season 7 is the best season. Although it's hard to say because that's my favorite season currently. But I'd say 7. Like I think about just how many amazing episodes are in that season, so I'd go with that one. I think there's pretty strong cases for season 6 and season 4 as well.
Yeah, mine is season 5 because as I was watching it, the weakest episode was Lionheart Lisa, and in any other season that would have been a standout.
I don't know. I've never been a big season 5 guy, to be honest. It's one of my bigger like contentious things. It's gonna be interesting when I get back to that one, just because there's a lot of episodes in season 5 where I just kind of shrug my shoulder at it. I don't know.
Well, that's when it depends on I think what people look for in the show, and that is when the craziness started ramping up.
Yeah.
You know, things like Burns Casino, and even in that one Lisa Lionheart, you had like Dr. Colosso.
Yeah.
And G.I. Jim and Dr. Colosso. It amused me greatly in the Family Guy. Bringing a stolen car.
You're breaking up a little bit.
Okay, am I now?
There you go. Okay, sorry, I lost a little bit.
Dr. Colosso was used in the Family Guy crossover.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, I remember him. The Simpson guy episode. I saw that one.
Yeah. When I was watching the fight at the end, my niece was about 2 at the time, and she came in the middle of when Homer and Peter were fighting, and she just went, "Oh no, they're killing each other!"
That's adorable.
Yeah, it was just like, because she was really concerned, because I remember one time we were watching Flintstones and something happened, she ran to the kitchen and told her mother.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it's always fun to watch those shows with kids, because my nephews and me, they've really grown up on Simpsons and all these different animated shows. And I think the people that say the show should have ended at like season 6 or 7, I think that would fundamentally change the TV landscape.
How so?
Okay, I think without Simpsons anchoring, you would not have Family Guy or Futurama.
Oh yeah, if that ended in season 7 and 8, I think you're right on that one.
And through Futurama and Family Guy, you know, I think they led to a lot of things like Adult Swim.
And I think that's fair, yeah.
You know, so it's like that's the purpose Simpsons has in going forward, that it really anchors Sunday night.
Yeah, because
And
I could see an alternate history where like they like Simpsons goes away and they just keep trying out different shows, and nothing really sticks, and like eventually Fox gives up on the night. So I could see that happening.
yeah, and that would be my fear because they feel pressure now to always have an animated series.
Yeah, like it's. I feel like they think it's weird to have one animated show, or maybe like two with Family Guy, and then like have a bunch of like half-hour sitcoms as well.
That's how I feel about it because they've always kept some on Sunday night, though they always have to mess around with it, even when stuff is working.
Yeah,
Uh, I remember Futurama actually was getting decent ratings considering how often it was preempted.
yeah, it was pretty up and down, but I think in the first season in particular, it did pretty well.
One thing I'm finding with Simpsons is that the teen years have become a blur. Where before, like if it's one of the classic seasons, I can tell you what episode it is
Hmm.
or what season the episode is from. But with 13 through 20, or honestly even to today, I can't place seasons anymore.
I'm surprisingly good at 13 through like around 18, I think. 19 and 20, I'm pretty decent at. But after season 20 is when I start getting worse, to be honest. And then after season 25 is really dodgy for me.
Yeah, and and I mean, and I honestly enjoy them, but I was trying to find an episode like the one where Homer thought he had a new dad.
Yeah, the paternity coot episode.
Yeah, and I really liked that episode because I always felt like the show, like I always felt like they lionized Mona at the expense of Grandpa, and the only thing I could ever think is, she abandoned Homer and Grandpa stayed, even though he didn't treat Homer right. He still, you could tell he loved him.
Yeah, and they definitely did. Yeah, between doing that episode and then that To Cur with Love's episode about Homer's dog Bongo, yeah, the later seasons did kind of soften Grandpa a little. Where, like, I mean, they're not taking anything away from Mona. I think they established very clearly why she had to leave.
Yeah,
I wouldn't like insult her for the decision she made. But yeah, Grandpa is a bit of a joke, and has like the early seasons are pretty clear on like how terrible of a dad he was in a lot of ways. So those little episodes recently where they have kind of looked at the good things he did for Homer have been pretty nice, to be honest. I've really enjoyed those.
I want to ask you about your review you did for the Scorpion's Tail because that one really stuck out for me when I watched it originally, and I enjoyed it, but I could see how it would turn people away, especially that last act with the eyeballs.
Yeah, that episode, like I had people complaining to me, not complaining, but they were jokingly saying like, "Thank you for reminding me this episode exists." They kind of forgot it, and then they got annoyed after I told them.
My theory is they didn't know how to end it.
Oh, like they didn't know what side effect to do.
I don't think they knew how to even. Yeah, I think they decided. I think they had a funny first act, and then they were like, "Okay, where do we go from here?"
Yeah, somebody in the comments, like I keep referring to YouTube comments, but they make a lot of good points often that
Yeah,
they were saying that like the whole thing is kind of interesting discussion on like these like drugs that they push out for elderly people and how like we can take advantage of elderly people by just trying to medicate them constantly and just make them happy and like be in this like serene happy state so they're not in our way, and that's bad. And I was like, yeah, that is a really good concept as an idea. And maybe the solution that they seem to go with was let's just do something really crazy as the side effect to make our point. For me personally, it just ended up being too far of like come on guys, this like you have your eyes hanging out, like I don't
and
mind
then
those.
one got tied in a knot.
Yeah, and there's like a cat like clawing at the crazy cat ladies. I was like, The
Oh,
Simpsons can do crazy stuff, I'm not against that. But everybody has to have a line, on
I
like what's too far.
I think that one was more gross and less crazy.
Yeah, I think the grossness factor too. Yeah, it just didn't like. They have a reason why they do Treehouse of Horror episodes, so they can kind of, get. I'm not gonna say out of their system, but where they can go crazy, and like
Yeah,
there's a reason why Treehouse of Horror exists, and like that whole sequence is a Treehouse of Horror episode. It's not a regular Simpsons. So like I'm not like super angry at it. I hope it I
Yeah.
hope I don't sound too nitpicky here. Like,
No, you're not. No, it's understandable because I
like,
mean,
they're gonna try things, you know.
yeah. And one thing I have noticed is it feels like the Treehouse of Horror episodes are watered down now because they'll do weird sci-fi episodes in the middle of the year.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing people knock on the Trails of Horrors these days is that they just don't do like horror movies anymore. They just do like they're like, let's do a Kingsman / James Bond parody and just shoot all the characters. You know, they just do basically violent pop culture parodies at that point.
Well, I remember in season 9 and 10 reading an article where the showrunners said they were running out of horror movies.
Yeah, I mean, there's only so many they can really work.
Iconic ones that they could do. And I loved your video about who had the highest death total.
Yeah,
and
that was fun.
I realized Bart. I actually was thinking Bart because I was wondering now, does it count as one death in that one where Bob kept killing him?
Yeah.
Or do they count separately?
Yeah, I have a friend that I kind of ran all these by to basically say, like, here's the idea, like, what are the rules? So we had to kind of like hash out on what constitutes a death, what doesn't constitute a death. I think that video has like, what, 4 or 5 minutes of preamble of just setting the rules. That's kind of ridiculous,
Yeah.
that video. But like, there's so many weird nuanced things of like, do all of Homer's clones count as individual deaths? I counted it just as one death because, you know, Homer the person died by going off the cliff. But, you know, like all the clones are technically like different Homers, so to speak. I was just counting the Homer that we know at the coming into the episode. But whereas Bart, we see him die several times in that one Treehouse of Horror. So I was like, okay, we'll just count the number of times we see one of the characters we know die, essentially.
That one was interesting because I think that's the only time we really see Bob as a psychotic killer.
Yeah, I was talking about that a little bit where, like, after watching it, because I'd watched it when it first came out, and on rewatch, I was like, I don't know if this really works for me, this whole segment, because, like I said in the video, it comes off more creepy you than creepy scary. Like, you know what I mean? Because, like, he's keeping this kid's body in his basement to kill over and over again. Like, the episode got a little too real, I guess, where it was too creepy for my taste.
Yeah, so. It was. I think what their feeling with Bart is that Bart is cartoonish enough that you can get away with a little more.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So, you know, but that's fine, you know, in the show, because I remember somebody made, you know, all the different memes about Homer getting hit with the chair.
Yeah.
And this guy had put this thing at the end of it, and he said something, you know, he did something about currently bashing the show about how bad it is. I said, well, how were all the other shows doing 30 years ago that are still on?
Yeah, I mean, to some degree, like, there's a reason why a lot of TV shows end after, like, let's say 10 seasons max. Like, there's a reason for that. Like, this was a show that did the Itchy and Scratchy and Poochie show in season 8, where they were acknowledging the frustrations of people saying the show isn't fresh. Like, characters do have a bit of a shelf life to them where they're going to be as fresh as possible. And you also have a show like The Simpsons, which is a status quo show that changes at a glacial pace, like very, very slowly. So, like, naturally, Homer's stupid joke number 10,512 is going to be more of a shrug than Homer's stupid joke number 12. So, I don't know. Like, it's just, I kind of feel like the staleness is just a natural thing. Like, if you want to run the show 30 seasons, you can, but you're going to run into this issue. That's just human nature.
What I find with the show is that in any long run, because I've read all of Chris Claremont's X-Men together, and what I noticed was there would be periods where they're running out of gas.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're able to power through it, and you'll see a strong sprint. And then, you know, it's kind of like the same cycle of running out of wind, getting your stamina back up, and doing it again.
Yeah, and I would say something like Spider-Man, they can just either end an arc or kind of reboot it, or like Spider-Man, like comics and stuff are more of a narrative where you're constantly pushing forward to something, whereas The Simpsons celebrates the status quo. So yeah, like Spider-Man, you'd be able to get away with that a little more, I think, because at least you can change up the formula. Like,
Or
are they
adding
gonna like? Is
characters.
Disney gonna reboot The Simpsons? Like, the idea of rebooting The Simpsons sounds weird.
I don't know. I know that video where they were welcome to Disney really bothered me, and I can't point my finger on why. Because I know partly I kind of consider Disney the evil empire, but they're less evil than Fox would be if they had all that power.
Yeah, and they were like, some of the criticism around the Disney thing I thought was a little overblown because, like, I don't want Disney to own everything, obviously, but like they were selling to somebody, so you're either going to be having, I think it was Comcast owning The Simpsons
Uh,
and getting bigger, or you're going to have Disney.
Yes.
Yeah, so like, and when they're saying that people were going to lose their jobs, it's like, well, blame Fox for selling, because when a company is sold, a lot of people lose their jobs no matter who buys it, the Mouse or Comcast. So yeah, I didn't really care for that Disney video either, to be honest. It was pretty. I hate those stuff where they like wink to the camera and they actually show Dumbo in the video. Like, it's kind of cheesy and lame. But like they probably made it really fast as well, the producers and the writers and the animators. So like, it was just for Twitter, whatever.
Do you watch any live action shows?
Not a lot of things, to be honest, on television. Like, I watch some Netflix things, like I watch Stranger Things every year. I recently watched Russian Doll about a couple months ago. So I'll pop into random streaming things, for example. Don't watch a lot of TV in general, I think.
Yeah, my one of my favorite live action shows is Always Sunny, and I think I kind of lean toward live action shows that are a little more cartoonish,
Mm-hmm.
even if they're dark. Are you planning on? Have you covered all of the Pixar movies?
No, actually, I stopped when I initially started because I had to put a line somewhere. So I did the first 16. So it's Toy Story all the way up to The Good Dinosaur was the last one. And then when Coco came out, I think Finding Dory had just come out when I started the reviews. And then when Coco came out, and I enjoyed that movie so much, I was like I got to the point in the countdown where Coco probably would have been, which was number 4 overall. So I was like, okay, I'll just squeeze Coco in here. So I've done up to The Good Dinosaur and Coco. So I still need to go back and do Finding Dory, Cars 3, and then The Incredibles 2, basically, and then Toy Story 4, way down the line.
Yeah, I haven't watched. I think I rebelled against the CG animation in the mid '90s
Mm-hmm.
really harshly because I hate change. And I believe because I was a teenager then, and I rebelled against Toy Story, even though I watched it later and enjoyed it.
Oh yeah.
And I think I have this bias towards CGI, or those computer generated animated movies.
Mm-hmm.
And somehow I always, like, in the back of my mind, I think that's not real animation, which I know is wrong, but it's still back there.
Well, it's definitely a different style of animation. Like, I've never personally been a huge fan of anime, for example. Like, I've never watched a lot of it because, like, anime got really popular when I was, like, already, like, in middle school or high school, whereas, like I grew up watching, like, stuff like Tiny Toon Adventures and very Western animation. So, like, when Pokemon came on TV, I was like, in that age of, like, what is this crap? Like, it looks weird to me. Like, I just never grew up with it. So, I think it's just kind of if you're like really entrenched in a style, that's what you've grown up with. Like, a shift to CGI is going to be a little hit or miss for a lot of people, I think.
Do you have any other projects you want to talk about right now?
Not really. I'm mostly working on season 3 stuff. This is one of the few situations where I am working on a couple videos at the same time. So I'm working on season 3 right now. I'm considering seeing if I can fit in a review of Finding Dory next month, or this month, I guess, since it's June, because Toy Story 4 is coming out. I feel like that would be good timing to eventually do another Pixar movie. So I got to rewatch that, but we'll see. I'm not sure if I can fit in Finding Dory with the season 3 reviews I'm working on.
All right. Okay, Jim, thank you for talking to me, and I hope everything goes well for you, and I look forward to seeing your next review.
Cool, thanks. I appreciate it.
All right, you have a great evening.
Yep, you too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.